Aren't you afraid he'll get away?
Heavens no! Not with the shackle.
Introducing the shackle, the revolutionary new way of servant monitoring. Just place the shackle around his or her wrist, and when your property strays from your designated area, in minutes the authorities have your chattel in custody. The secret? Inside the shackle is a space-age computer monitoring chip, allowing the police to track your slippery buck on radar. In no time, he's back home in his cabin. Made of lightweight aluminum alloys, the shackle won't weight your uncle down like old-fashioned chains. And it's tough. The shackle will stand up to the most strenuous of escape attempts. It's unbreakable. It comes in a variety of sizes, perfect for children, and at the low, low price of $49.95. Why wait? Step into the 21st century. Get the shackle.
Aren't you going to stay for coffee?
Can't. Gotta get the shackle.
Have your credit card ready or send $49.95 check or money order to the shackle. The shackle keeps them in line every time. Operators are standing by.
Tonight, right after Animal House, Eric Estrada and Howard Hessman meet the Dream Girls.
Hi.
Of Every Man's Fantasy.
I'll just knock you dead.
Morgan Fairchild, Linda Carter, Kathy Lee Crosby, Victoria Principal, and much, much more. Beautiful. They're the sexiest super ladies on the scene. They're the women who rate a 10 later tonight.
We are being confined by our own definitions. The definitions that have been presented to us by a particular mindset, a particular consciousness, or a consciousness, parasitic consciousness, has convinced you of your reality from birth to death. Every definition that you have has been given to you. So this is like setting a baby in front of a television for their entire life. The only thing you do is give them the food that comes on the commercial to keeps them happy so they don't ask questions about why they're watching a television for their entire life. Why did you wake up in the morning? If you have this potential that goes beyond this physical reality, why have you still chosen to wake up within this physical reality? Oh, well, come on down and check this out. This is why you woke up this morning.
Good morning, dear.
Good morning, sweetie birdie.
I'm out of coffee.
You're out of coffee. Isn't that wonderful? Out of coffee?
So they'll give you all of your definitions and it'll be sold to you in a way that you think it's wonderful because you think it's a part of the previous generations, the previous definitions that were given to the previous generations before you. So it's one after another. Like if this particular generation is going to be bought and sold with this kind of consciousness, then that's what will be sold by the television that they've been sat in front of forever. This is all on purpose. But when they make it real for you by putting actors and real people and politicians and people in the news and movies, when they do that, they make it real for you based upon that level of consciousness.
Fall out here means more than corralling a young buck. It's a time of crisp, clean morning air and the sound of thundering stampede. It's a time when horses come down from the high pasture and a man prepares for another tough winter. It's time for a nigger hair, an American cigarette.
Once it becomes real for you at that level of consciousness, that's when you start to define yourself. You accept, adopt, and pass down those definitions of yourself, those beliefs of yourself down to your next generations, your children. You pass that down. So everything that's going on in this system is being passed down. And ultimately, all of the systems that are out there are to distract you from the root causes, to distract you from what's going on a deeper layer. So like when they're prosecuting people like Harry Weinstein and Kevin Spacey and all these other people that are in the limelight, when they're supposedly prosecuting them for all this pedophilia and sexual abuse and all this other stuff, They're never, for example, when they focus on one individual, they're not really focusing on the culture of pedophilia. They're not focusing on the culture of sexualizing the minds of not only the children but these adults. So they don't focus on the cause. They focus on the effect because you can make a profit off of the effect. But the causes are going into the root structure. Once you start going into the cause of one thing, then you pretty much recalibrate your consciousness to perceive your reality from a different layer from a different eye. What you see, what you perceive in this reality from a government and political perspective and all that other stuff, that is the foundation to why the artificial third eye exists. To have an escape mechanism, a non-physical escape world. That's what the New Age community is. It never really does anything with the information. It just says, let's have peace between the Jews and the Muslims. That's all it does. That's what the New Age community is. It's there to give you your definition, and in that definition, they give you your beliefs. When they give you your beliefs, they give you your consciousness. And once all of those systems have been installed into your reality, you are the only one responsible for digging yourself out of that hole. Heliocentrism is a hole like that. The education system is a hole. Politics, Hollywood, all of this stuff, it's just a giant hole. And all of these, like an image like this and the Kevin Spacey stuff, is to distract you from what's going on at the foundation. Who's digging these holes for the consciousness of the masses to climb in? So the three holes that I wanted to focus on in this video are the idea of sex, as in masculine and feminine, the idea of race, and then the idea of the ego. These are the three things that are being attacked right now. Once the system gets called out for what it's actually doing, they'll just change the goal. They'll just move the goalpost. They'll move the goal line. They'll make the world adjust around what it is that they have been doing for so long, so they don't get recognized for what's going on. So they try to normalize into the society the crimes that have been committed. This is why some people believe war is peace. As much as shitty as that feels, people believe that. Why? Because they've been indoctrinated into that belief system. If they can trick you into thinking that war brings peace and that you'll pay for that, what makes you think they won't do some shit like this and start legalizing something like pedophilia? It's already going on. And this is how everybody's being prepped and kind of chatteled into that thought process with the whole Obama in the White House having those lights of the gay flag or the LGBT flag like all over the White House, and all this gay talk and trans this and trans that. Like, it's a pop thing. That's the thing. Like, even the thing with Caitlyn Jenner, like, this is a pop thing. Anything pop, you're going to have to see the deeper layer of why it's pop. And then you think about the things that are pop today, and then go back, time travel back to the things that were pop 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago, and see what kind of mind control programming they were playing for you back then.
Down home. At the Coon Chicken Inn, we aim to please. The best 100% mammy-made family-style meals. You can taste the love.
I like the white meat. I'm a breast man.
We just love it here. You'll just keep hollering, gal, fetch me some more. Look for that wide-mouthed coon near you. Coon Chicken Inn.
See what kind of things your grandparents and other people's grandparents, see what kind of belief systems they are living within right now, based upon the mind control programs that were conditioned into their reality back then.
These are the faces of contrary. With contrary, one little blue pill gives all-day control. Side effects may include vomiting, shortness of breath, nausea, blurred vision, liver and kidney problems, constipation, and anal bleeding. Contrary has been known to cause heart attack in some old uncles. Contrary is not meant for servants who are nursing or about to drop a litter. Ask your veterinarian about contrary today.
So, a question that I had later was, like, I was listening to a live stream and it was a lot of Bible talk and flat earth talk with the Bible and that whole thing. And I was just asking myself in that moment, like, how would we interpret this reality if the Bible did not exist? Like, if it, for this moment, just take a deep breath, and when you finish that exhale, like, imagine perceiving your reality without the Bible existing. Like, imagine like that. And then without, like, religions, mainstream religions, you would have the responsibility, you personally would have to own the responsibility of making your own connection, your own deepest connection to the Most High. You know how strong people would get if they were challenging themselves to do that? No, they can't have people with that kind of strength. So they have to put something into your reality. They have to install some kind of belief system into your reality so that you don't do that. Because if you start questioning the foundations, the pillars of something like the Bible, mainstream religions, then you can easily start to disassemble the mind control programs of this mainstream control grid, this colonial control grid. But if you are still locking yourself into an external, a synthetic, an artificial reality that has been promoted into your generations before you, that this is the way your reality is, and that's going to take a long time. It's going to exponentially, that weight from your great-grandparents to your grandparents and to your mother to you, it's going to just weigh itself down. It's going to weigh on you and inherently weigh you down, because the name of the game is to have all of this density exist, act like it doesn't exist, and don't do anything with it. By the time you figure it out, if you do, you're already 1 foot in the tomb getting ready to kick off into another experience. And by the time you get to that experience, you already had like 10 grandkids, 3 kids, and then, like, you've already created a timeline that will just repeat itself based upon self-destruction, based upon the definition, the confinement of the definitions promoted to us by this system, this hopeless repeating itself timeline. Because we never get out of the cloud, we never get out of the bubble of the distraction grid. So we give ourselves away to an artificial ego. We give ourselves away to an artificial interpretation of the divine feminine and the divine masculine. We start watering it down with the mainstream religions. We start watering our culture down with pop culture and mainstream interpretations of this reality. By the time all of those things are accepted as our reality, the entire world had already been poisoned, both physically and non-physically. Before they put plastics in the ocean, they had to first spiritually disconnected you from your responsibility to caretaking for the ocean. This was the attack on the indigenous people. And that goes for the entire natural system. Before they could have had you being cool with war brings peace, they had to first spiritually disconnect you from your brothers and sisters based upon some kind of law, some kind of separation, some kind of line. That's where all this nationalism comes in. And religion backs that up with this is why they say God bless America, because it instantaneously makes it real based upon your deepest layers of interpreting your reality. So you have your idea of yourself with your ego. So they give you the artificial ego, and then they simultaneously start to destroy the idea of the ego, which is just you, like an expression of you, no different than how you look. Like you've chosen to look this way for a particular reason. You've also chosen to speak this way, to have this kind of accent. So that's basically how, and I'll get into this in a second, because this is a very big part of the watering down of your consciousness, watering down of your entire culture. And it's one of the main things in the New Age community. Watering down of the idea of the ego, the already watering down the strength, the power of both the divine masculine and the divine feminine, with the whole LGBT stuff and this whole pedophilia stuff that they're running around out there. Is just a big ass distraction from that which most empowers you. When you balance out yourself in your reality, you start to strengthen yourself within every single moment, every single experience, every encounter starts to become, you start to exponentially grow your consciousness. Once you stop fighting yourself. See, the system itself is designed to maintain self-destruction from the inside out. They have no connection to any kind of non-physical reality, the Most High, any kind of creative intelligence, balances with nature, universal laws. None of that shit exists in the mainstream individual, because if that individual were to perceive a lot of those perspectives from the inside out as opposed from the outside in, these belief systems that get cast upon us from the outside in, if they were started to interpret these realities from the inside out, that would create a strength, an inner strength that will grow exponentially within each experience, each encounter. It's non-linear intelligence. This is basically like this tapping into, it's not exactly like your subconscious, but it's basically like bridging the intelligence of the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere, the masculine and the feminine. So back to the original question, how would people interpret this reality without the influence of somebody else's belief system? It's nobody else's responsibility other than the individual to start to ask and answer the questions that come about once all of that garbage is moved out of your reality. So what's happening is the system knows that people are starting to remove the garbage out of their reality. They're making space and filling that space with something real. The system knows that. The system knows that this information is being filtered through people's own algorithms. Their own inner algorithm is starting to throw all of the nonsense that comes up from this mainstream reality into the dump. They're throwing it into the recycling bin, and then it's done. It's being worked exponentially rather than the system just constantly beating down on people. So once that is known by the system now has to install another layer of mind control into your reality. So in reference to race, what they're doing is they're saying, we're all human. Race doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. That exists inside the mainstream reality of how they're promoting it through the New Age and through this hatred and all this other stuff. People jump from one extreme to another extreme. And that's exactly what the system wants people to do. Because what happens in that space is that everything gets watered down. You go from one answer of hatred and fear to the other answer of love and light, but nothing really gets done. The math doesn't get worked. Algorithms don't get destroyed and algorithms don't get created. Inner algorithms don't get created and external algorithms don't get destroyed. What happens is other external algorithms get created and they get adopted by the people who have just jumped from one extreme to another extreme. They jump from one answer sheet looking in the back of the book for the answer to the other one, but they didn't get the actual answer because the answer is not in the answer. The answer is in the work done to get to the answer, whatever that answer is for whatever subject it is. So you have people in the New Age community who are reading a Cliff's Notes of the answer at best of what's going on in this reality, because it's not even this reality. It's an illusory reality. They created another universe. And the only way they can get people to do that is if they make it entertaining and easy. So all of this indoctrination with the alien programming, the ancient aliens on History Channel, the Bigfoot stuff and the alien abduction stuff on Destination America, your alien agenda programming in Hollywood, your politicians, you're talking about the aliens surrounding who was that, Reagan talking about that, a threat from space and all. They make this shit real for you. By the time it's all done, you have 100,000 mind control programs that you kind of believe in, but there's so many of them, it becomes your reality.
I pushed the button on the Xerox 914. I make perfect copies of whatever my boss needs by just turning a knob and pushing a button. Anything he can see, I can copy in black and white on ordinary paper. And am I fast?
So that's how this system banks on controlling you. It's by installing so many different ways to perceive your reality to take your strength, separate you from your strength, and install an artificial version of strength, install artificial muscles into your reality. And then once you are building yourself up with all these artificial muscles, and then they tell you, no, you need to be stronger in this kind of way, then people start taking these steroids within the artificial world. Strength has nothing to do with your muscles in reference to the non-physical strength that predates or presupposes the physical strength. This is why everything is so focused on the way you look. You're not only hating your body for being naturally what it is, you're hating your culture, inherently hating your culture and your people because they don't look the way the society of today has told them to look and act. This goes for race, this goes for body types, this goes for religions. So you pride yourself, just like people pride themselves in big booties right now, trying to go to the gym and do all these damn squats so they look a certain way. Ain't gonna change nothing on the inside. You still an empty ass individual on the inside and ain't done nothing for the expansion of your consciousness or the love of yourself. You've only convinced yourself that you got more love for yourself because you working your ass every day. You running away. Going to the gym ain't nothing but a fucking cigarette. So you existing in this reality, you existing here, is a form of art. Who's the artist there? Well, you are there as the art form and the experiencer. You are also not doing this by yourself. As easily as I can break it down, your relationship with the Most High, whatever creative intelligence that predates the creative and destructive intelligence of this dualistic reality, you and the creative intelligence has decided, okay, well, we're going to experience this reality this way. You're going to interact in this reality from this way. But when you get here, the reality also has rules. It also has algorithms. And what happens is the so-called powers that be, the individuals who only give a shit about themselves, have manipulated the rules of this experience at the expense of the non-physical relationships that you have and had before you were born into this experience. Once you buy into the illusory definitions and algorithms of this experience that have been manipulated by the programmers of this place, then that's when you go from being exponentially growing, you go from that to a battery. You go from strength and expansion of your consciousness and engaging within this world for whatever it was that you intended to do before you got here, to de-evolving yourself down to a battery. And who you are as an individual before you got here, like the soul, like that energy, it really does kind of boil down to like what it is that you're doing. Like you're going to be more susceptible to certain things based upon your previous experiences. The true ego is your voice, your style, like what kind of music you would make, what kind of rhythms you would do. That's you. But that is a threat to the system, because if you start playing your music and you meet somebody from across the earth who starts playing their music and you come together and you guys didn't even know each other and you start playing music that starts telling a story about the system that has nothing to do with the mind control programs that they have put out there for you. That's an inherent threat to the system. This is why the system has to take out people who are strong, who are very confident and speaking their truth from the inside out. That's not based upon the external mind control programs, politics, television, so on and so forth. So this is why certain people have to be removed. This is why the Black Panthers was attacked so much, because their main thing, they were making school lunches. The Black Panthers was 70% women. So the Black Panthers was more focused on the community, but they only wanted to expose, they only wanted to expose to the masses of people that these guys were, against America. They were like against this. This is the same thing that's going on today. When you bring up race relations, oh, you're this, or you bring up even religious relations, oh, you're against America. Like, this is how this sensitive ass bully, that's what this America mind control program is, this United States of America mind control program. It's a sensitive ass bully. It's a bully that will beat the shit out of everything and everybody in the name of God. But as soon as it starts to be exposed of being a bully, it flips on the victim card and becomes a victim of whatever it is that's in their moment. Once people have prided themselves in the bully program, they've installed a belief system into the individual. Once people get on the side of the victim program, they've installed a belief into the individual. And what happens? The true interpretation of what's really going on here is not really understood. That's the same thing that's going on here. They'll show you these pretty faces. Oh, Miss Universe. Oh, how wonderful. They're speaking up. They're stepping out. Great. But what are they saying? Peace. Okay. What does that mean? Exactly. They couldn't tell you anything. They don't know what they're saying. They're using this as publicity stunts. And then they'll televise this in order to keep that shallow interpretation of the reality going on, to keep from going into deeper storylines. So the same thing's going on with like this image that you're looking at right now. How cannabis is fueling a fitness movement. What the fuck are you talking about? Why are you focusing on this and not having a dialogue about all the people who are in jail right now who should have never been in jail in the first place? They're never going to talk about that because that's money in the bank. The prison is the bank. The people are the money. That's money in the bank when you get people in prison. So they develop all of these ways to get that money in the bank, these laws to get those people in the prisons. They develop all these systems. They put guns in the community. They put drugs in the community. They give you a shitty education. They mind control you to act a certain way with the movies, with the music. By the time it's all said and done, by the time you get out of high school and whatever, you only have about 3 options: drugs, crime, or the military. Drugs, crime, or the military. This is the design of the system. It's a funnel. They're channeling the consciousness to act a certain way so they can make a profit off of dumbass people who will never be strong enough to ask any questions and never be smart enough to ask the right fucking questions. Alien agenda, the whole technology, let's go to Mars. What the fuck are you going to Mars for? You ain't done nothing right in this place. So all this heal your all the stuff that's going on is to keep you from healing your generations prior. Because the only way you can heal yourself is to understand, and understand what happened to the previous generations before you. If you cast that to the side, which the New Age community is a master of doing, if you cast that to the side, you will only be activating a small percentage of your reality. You'll be activating your perception of this reality without the grounding of the physical reality antenna, which has a meaning and has a purpose. But the thing is, there's so much information in the non-physical reality. There's so much information that we've been held back from that people can actually live entire lives. They can create an entire person without having a connection to the physical reality, without being grounded. That's what the New Age community is banking on. Because if you disconnect yourself from the physical antenna, that means that you created an opening, a gap in one part of your reality, at least a third of your reality, your physical reality, your soul, your mind, and your body. So this image that you're looking at right now, heal your inner feminine by forgiving your mother for the time she let her own pain manifest into yours. This is a true statement because this is the intent, because period, but also because this is the intent of this system, to destroy generations. They don't care about what's happening right now because they've already done planned for 100 years out. So if that's the case, what's happening right now, supposedly happening right now, is all meant to maintain an illusion, a distraction. This is the synthetic ego of the synthetic mass consciousness. So when you as an individual adopt a collective mind control program, what happens? That shit gets passed down per generation. This is what's happening with the parents who are having a fucked up relationship with their children because the parents never did any inner work. The parents never thought to forgive because they didn't know how to forgive. They don't know what compassion is. Only thing they know is artificial strength. The old school generations have been brought up in survival mode. We're still in survival mode today. But we have so many things that are surrounding us that keep us from realizing that. Once you're in survival mode for so long, a lot of who and what you are gets killed. Your love, your expression, your connection. People don't even know what love between like a mother and a father is. Love between relationships. Love between your parents and your children. People don't know what that is because the system has told you what it's supposed to be like. And that system is largely based upon subconsciously and consciously programming you into the survival mode, having no meaning and purpose reality. And once that happens, that inherently installs the battery program. It inherently installs the hatred and the destructive, self-destructive programming that allows people to just function in the society based upon the science of a battery, survival battery programming. So everything that's surrounding you that you look up to, like I said, that keeps you from realizing that program, all these holidays, the news, the politics, your school, your education system, the money programming, everything that so-called defines who you are is there to water down who you actually are, who and what you actually are.
Try some of this, sport.
Dude, Cooter!
Sambo X15 is specially formulated for the way America drives. It blasts and cleans away those stubborn black deposits that rob your engine of power.
It lubricates and protects.
Listen to her purr. Thanks, Duke.
Don't thank me. Thank Sambo X15. It's what the pros use.
Shame. Shaming people in the streets because they haven't conformed to the societal norm. So you will be shamed. Same thing happens here. It just doesn't happen with cinnamon. It happens everywhere else too. Something's wrong with that person. Why? Because people have been shrunk down to the animalistic consciousness. They've been shrunk down to the mainstream philosophy. They've been shrunk down to an external interpretation of their reality that's based upon definitions that have been sent down by a mind control program based upon reproducing batteries. You are born into shame when they tell you everything about your universe. They even tell you this, born into sin, that whole Christian shit, because you're supposed to hate yourself. You're supposed to feel guilty about everything. And if you feel guilty about everything, then you're not going to empower yourself with anything. You don't know what to empower yourself with. Your parents don't know how to raise you. They weren't designed to do that. Your parents are here to be your foundation. You have to actually do the work. And a lot of the foundations of the parents are broken. They never even built a foundation because their parents never built a foundation. The work of you needs to be done by you and nobody or nothing else. Your parents don't even have a responsibility for your growth after a certain point. They're to protect you and so on and so forth. But who and what they are ultimately has nothing to do with who and what you are on the more vibrant scales of your soul. You come through these people that you call your parents. You come through them. You're not like an expression from every expression. Like your soul, basically your soul is more complex than the genetic makeup of your mother and your father. So when you understand that, you have a responsibility of yourself to be your own mother and father. Who is the mother and father of you individually? Non-physical you. You are. Expressed in this dense physical reality, you have a mother and a father. But they got their own shit to deal with. They got their own relationships with the soul that they have never done, largely. So how could you hold a mother and father in physical form responsible for work that needs to be done in the non-physical form of yourself? You can't. So when you understand that you as the individual soul, you are the mother and father of yourself, being guided along by the mother and father of the non-physical, the balances of this reality. So you have the physical, the positive and the negative, the light and the dark. Then beyond that, you have the creative intelligence that has created more universes that are not limited to the dualistic algorithms of this reality. It's not just this universe. How I see it is that once you have maxed out the algorithms, the math that you have come here to do, that once you've hit that vibration point that you come here to do before you were born, then you take all of the information, the energy, the work that you have done now, and you go into a universe that is sitting on the foundation of the universe that you were in just before. So you go into another universe that takes the complexities of the previous universe and adds another reality on top of that, so you can have an experience worth experiencing. Because why would you play the same movie over again if you didn't know what the hell was going on in the first movie in the first place? If you ain't figured out what's going on in the movie in the first place, then shit, you're going to have to watch it again until you get the point. Once you get the point, that's when you can actually move into another energetic space. You're doing that with lifetimes. You're doing that in every moment. You're becoming smarter. In every moment, you're becoming more connected with yourself and everybody in and around you. But if you're constantly focusing on the external interpretations of your reality, you will never even allow yourself to realize that exists. There's a power in being alone, because there's a power in knowing who and what you are without having to have somebody else reflect back to you in whatever kind of perspective that they have, some kind of perspective that's going to be tainted by who and what they are. Society does that as a whole. Once people have been watered down, they can be controlled. Once people have had these mind control programs installed in their reality, you can be controlled, because the majority of their time will be spent, and energy will be spent fighting themselves, breaking the very fabric of this synthetic universe that they've draped over your reality. Once you break that, you're breaking yourself off into a new layer of responsibility. And the system knows that. That's why they created the New Age program, to install a new universe while people are simultaneously destroying the old universe. Instead of emptiness being sold into your reality from love and light, or from fear and destruction, emptiness is being sold into your reality in the form of love and light. That is the polar shift. That's the polar shift of mind control. Since people are no longer able to confine themselves to the lower vibrations of fear and destruction and war and all that other stuff, now they have to be manipulated and controlled by reversing those programs and selling you another version of the same thing. And since it's different, people are going to pride themselves, and are priding themselves in that, and not recognizing that it's the same program with the same intent, and will have the same kind of effects, just in a more complex version, because the system itself has to adjust its conscious effect based upon the consciousness of the people. They can't push too hard, and they can't be too soft. They can't destroy too much, and they can't create too much. They can't give you too much, and they can't take away too much. It's got to be right in the middle. And all of those programs have to be just enough for you to believe into that reality. because it's you that's adopting those belief systems. It's not the system that's making you believe yourselves into those artificial universes and artificial interpretations of yourself. It's the system from the birth all the way until what we call the death. You're in somebody else's universe.
I heard you want to be a frito bandido like me. You do? Then you must sing the bandido song. Let's sing together. You just follow the bouncing Fritos corn chips bag. Ay, 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 ay. I am the frito bandido. That's nice.
The best way to combat a system like that is to reconnect with the balances. See, that's the thing. So in the New Age community, people say, well, we just need to unify. We need to come. Well, that ain't nothing but like those Miss Universes at the beginning of this video talking about, let's have peace in the Middle East. Like, what the fuck does that even mean? That's like a 10-year-old saying to another 10-year-old, I love you. Like, what the fuck what does that even mean? It's empty. So the best way to combat something that's attacking people like that with those kinds of programs is to reconnect with the essence of who and what you are. So reconnect, try to understand and overstand the meaning and the purpose of the divine masculine and the divine feminine before you start just saying everything is just genderless. You can't find out what the inside is if you're constantly basing your life on somebody else's external version of the reality. That's why it's so important to figure out what's going on from a space of being alone. And when it's not the only way. It's one way, and it's very important on many different journeys. At some point in time, you're going to have to be alone in your thoughts, in your person, in your spirit, and so on and so forth, in order to go to the extremes of seeing what's really going on here in these mind control programs. So that's another way of disassembling these destructive mind control programs that are designed to implode you, explode into yourself, find out what's going on. Like, what is the divine feminine? What is the divine masculine? Who are you? Who were your people? What happened to them? How did the mind control program affect them back then? That's why I put those clips in this video, to help people see how we were affected back then and how it's still going on today. It's just a little more complex and more slick. But since it's complex and slick, people think it doesn't exist anymore. No. It exists now even more so than it did back then in those jacked up ass commercials that you're watching. It exists even more so now because not only are people not knowing that it still exists, but people are defending the idea that it doesn't exist. And that's the deepest layer to control somebody. When you have somebody defending another illusion, that's the most gangster ass shit that you can do in the universe. Until we start to see what's going on from that perspective, we won't be doing shit. You won't be doing anything but playing checkers in somebody else's 3-tiered chess game.
That's nice.
In order to see who and what you are, you have to start disassembling this system, the system that's a part of you from the inside out. A lot of people are scared to do that because it involves changing themselves from the inside out. Once you start changing from the inside out, you start losing friends. You will start losing affiliates. You might even start losing family members in the sense that they will start to distance themselves from you because you are now a different person. The thing is, there's nothing wrong with that because you're not a quote unquote different person. You're just more of the original person that you always have been. You were always that person. You just didn't know it because you spent the majority of your life trying to be like what the system told you to be like. Whether it's through religion, whether it's through the race programming and the nationalism programming and all this other stuff that's out there. That's not to say that any of this stuff doesn't exist. It's just to say that it's way more complex than that. And it's designed, the overall design is to keep you from going into those complexities because once you start going into those complexities and start activating those algorithms of yourself, that inherently starts to deactivate the algorithms of the mind control program. And once you do that, it's pretty much game over for the system once that starts to happen on a massive scale. That's why everything has to be so commercialized in Hollywood. That's why I said it's so important for people who are talking about flat earth to go deeper before you can't go deeper anymore. Go deeper before they start selling you the shallow version of it. Because if you go deeper before they start selling the shallow version, that's when you can help people not be consumed by the shallow version. Your relationship with the non-physical, your soul, your mind, your body, the non-physical creative intelligence, your relationship with your peoples. You're not going to be able to heal and understand yourself if you haven't healed and understood, or at least opened up the door of forgiving, healing, and understanding and overstanding what went on with your previous generations. Because what happened to them is the same thing that's happening to us right now, just in a more complex fashion. And if we don't allow ourselves to go into those complexities, we're going to limit ourselves to this destructive illusion.